welcome to F.A.C.E, JJ.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you today?
Great. Very nice to meet you. I'm glad I reached out on Twitter, read a little bit about your background. Have you used Zoom before?
Yes, I use it every day in
Okay.
my room. Yep.
All right. Well, then you know how
Perfect.
to share your screen.
Share your screen, yes.
Oh, you want me to share my screen? Sure.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Unless you want to talk about girls and cars.
And you could still share your screen.
Unfortunately, I think I've done better trading with either of those two subjects.
All right. Yeah, I know. Well, anyway, at least you could have a stop in. So
Exactly.
So JJ, I went to your website and looks like you guys specialize in trading micros or mini S&Ps. And before we get to the markets, I'm really interested in people's background and the journey that they have to where they are. You're like at point B. How did it start at A for you?
Well, it started with me. I'd finished university, did 4 years of microbiology. My parents wanted me
Wow.
to go to med school, and I
Yeah, all
was
right.
completely didn't have the talent nor the stomach for it.
All right.
Moved out to Vancouver. I grew up in a place called Saskatchewan, which is right in the middle of
Okay.
Canada.
All
And
right.
immigrant parents from Sri Lanka, so everybody in my family is a doctor. So I'm the black
You're the
sheep.
black. Yeah, you are. But at
Uh,
least you at least with your family, um, you could hit them up for, maybe some trading capital once
exactly. Well,
in
they're pretty tight. They're pretty tight. Oh
All
man,
right, buddy.
but
Yeah. All right.
yeah. So I moved out to Vancouver just because it's minus 40 here most of the time, and three of us went out from university, and I was actually working as an organic chemist making shampoo in the daytime, and I was working as a bouncer at night in a nightclub.
What a
And
renaissance, man.
and the nightclub was next to a how shall I say, a gentleman's club, and
Oh,
when that
okay.
place closed, the ladies would come and dance at our club, and so of course wherever their pretty girls traders go, and the Vancouver Stock Exchange traders would all come to the club, and one of them gave me the book Liar's Poker,
Okay.
and by Michael Lewis, and
Yeah.
I was hooked because I was looking for something, and I was like, okay, I want to be a trader. This is me, um,
Yeah. And Vancouver, man, that's
oh,
the land of barracuda and sharks and
oh my goodness. Well,
shells and whatever you could do.
oh,
Vancouver reminds me of the saying Mark Twain said, mine is two liars standing over a hole.
mm, definitely. And
So
Vancouver,
you must have been a natural resource guy if you were hanging
oh,
out there for a while.
well, what happened was I got a job selling advertising. I read Linda Ratchke in
Okay.
interviews with the Jack Schwager book, said she got a job
Yeah.
close to the exchange so she could get a job in the market. So I did the same. I worked for the federal government because I speak French. And one day there was a little man, a little East Indian guy with cowboy boots and drove a Rolls Royce. And he gave me my first job working leads at night. And then he got me a job with the company that made the leads because I was having trouble getting on a trade desk because it was kind of a closed city. So I went and got about 200 clients that were either stock promoters or little hedge fund guys, the guys who did Reg S convertibles
Hmm.
and things like that. And so when I did finally weasel my way into a trade desk, because the head trader was dating one of my friends, that's the only reason I got the interview. And
Okay.
so,
It's not what you know. It's
oh,
who.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. So I showed up my first day for work. I couldn't trade my way out of a wet paper bag. But I had 200 clients that would deposit millions of shares of stock and that we could liquidate at, 5% commission. So,
Nice. Oh, sorry.
yes. Yeah. So that's how I
Churn.
started off.
Nice churn.
Well, it was, my clients were the best
Nice
because,
load. Yeah.
well, all it was what was the volume and how much did I sell? See you tomorrow.
Right.
That was
Right. Right. Not, yeah, the old days.
exactly.
All right.
And
Well, God, what a background. So go ahead, keep going.
and I started right when BRIEX happened, BRIEX Minerals, which
Oh God, that's the guys that got thrown out of a
the
helicopter.
helicopter. Well, he apparently fell out of the helicopter, the
Oh,
geologist.
okay, yeah.
And they
Was
made
that was a Vancouver listing, wasn't it?
it was actually Alberta, and then it went to New
Oh
York.
wow. Oh
And one of
wow.
one of
Okay.
my guys had 3-4 million shares at 30 cents, and it went to $268 a share
Uh,
before Wanda Guzman fell out of the helicopter. And so when that happened, I realized I better go into the U.S. markets because the Vancouver, the Canadian mining sector shut down for 10 years. And we had, so I specialized in U.S. listings and trading U.S. bulletin board and pink sheet, and got really good market maker relationships. And my clients were most of the guys who were in the Wolf of Wall Street. When that place closed down, they became stock promoters, and they would
okay.
sell stock through Canada into the United States because we could do things like direct trades and I basically owned the level two. Every one of the market makers had an order from me, and I'd sort of move it around like a chessboard.
Yeah, didn't those pinks and bulletin board companies basically dilute their shares by paying guys with either free trading or
Exactly.
restricted to come in and create buying and
Ex-
liquidity in the issue? And then the
exactly.
owners of the stock would use that volume to
Yep.
get liquid themselves?
Definitely. And it was free trading stock. And, that's why I used to always say zero cost stock always finds the bid. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what they did. And Canada back in the day had 13-day settlement. So these guys would have 40 or 50 accounts and just wash trade between them, create demand, and then dump into it.
What a scam.
Oh, I mean, it still happens to this day. You can still see it happening with
Yeah, I'm
dilution,
sure.
but not
Yeah.
not as bad as it used to be. But
Yeah.
now it's just done by more sophisticated players.
Like the marijuana stocks?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I love Canada. It's a great country, but any Canadian deal will have a ton of S8 paper and probably a convertible on it. That's
Okay.
floorless.
All right. So tell us about your development as a trader. So, I see what you're using now, and a lot of floor traders use this. Why don't you tell people what it is and market
Certainly.
profile and what it
Yeah.
does for you to identify important areas in the market?
Well, it's great. What happened with me was I had a massive heart attack in 2012 and a quintuple bypass. So I had to figure out something a little less stressful than making markets and taking companies public.
Yeah.
So I was working for a software company, and one of the kids that I was coaching said, "Hey, you've got to check out futures." So I went into futures, and the thing is, I didn't know. I can't read a candlestick chart worth putty. I can build one to make retail people come and be comfortable, but I had no skills as a trader, no discipline, none of that stuff. And so I was lucky enough to find Tasty Trade, Shadow Trader, which thankfully led me to Jim Dalton. And as soon as because a lot of the trading services were by these yahoos who've never been traders, Dalton was on the floor. He was director of floor operations for UBS, and when he spoke, he just reminded me of the guys who trained me. So I just fell into market profile basically 2 weeks into my journey, and then I found out over years of using it how, especially in the day time frame, it's great for finding inventory, and when there's trapped inventory, long, short. It gives beautiful structure. You can tell by the pace and the way that the market trades. Like the S&P will trade two exact references to the tick, probably because of algorithmic execution. And it sets up for some really, really nice um, places to take trades and manage your risk. Kind of shows you where the stops are, all those sorts of things.
How would you describe your trading? Day trading, swing position, or a little
Day
of everything?
Day trading.
Okay.
Yeah, just because of my, I'm 52 now, and just trying to. I like to sleep at night.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
like to
Okay.
be flat. Yeah.
There's definitely enough volatility and huge ranges to
Oh
take
my
advantage
goodness.
of it. What is there a time frame difference on how you use market profile? You break
Well,
it down in time frames, or is it all the same time frame?
it's all the same. It's half an hour, as Dalton teaches.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's just like a half an hour candle chart, but just you get to see inside the candle and see where the volume is and that sort of thing.
okay. Why don't you
Yeah.
tell us what you're seeing right now that is significant as far as inventory above the market, or maybe some type of demand underneath it, and how you pick
Well,
it out on this?
we have pretty much balanced inventory. Here on this chart here, you can see the overnight in comparison to the previous day. And most of the inventory is, half of it's above and below. So we just say it's balanced. And if we open within today's range, we'll be looking at some chop and some back and forth as we sort of balance out and wait for that initial, bunch of order flow to come in, because we have a lot of economic news today. So
Yeah.
generally, as Dalton teaches, when markets are in balance or they're sort of waiting for information. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, right now, do you have a lot of days where the market's in this position? Is that a no trade day for you
Oh no, no, definitely we
when
can
it's
trade.
balanced?
Oh, we definitely trade balance. We trade, like for example, the overnight high, when it came here, these green areas are sets of single prints from previous trading sessions, and you'll see that the market went exactly to that set of single prints and sold off. So
Hmm.
my guys would have probably taken a short somewhere, at 28.06. They would have had their stop quite tight at 07 and a quarter, and looking for a target of 99 or 98. And so what I do is I take traders who are fairly new and I teach them kind of baby steps, small trades. We're not looking for home runs, base hits. And we use the micro because it's kind of like trading the mini with training wheels. If they have a
Okay.
bad day, it's $25 to $50 as opposed to, losing a
So, what's
$500
a
account.
10 handle? A 10 handle move is worth what?
It's $1.25 a tick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
12.50.
so
Okay.
it's yeah, so my whole thing is to learn how to trade well and develop discipline, journaling skills, be able to sit and observe a market without getting that feeling where you have to trade. And then what I do is I teach them the mechanics of market making, because surprisingly, and I never really had any retail clients ever. So I didn't know that retail doesn't know that, how an order gets processed when they go to buy a stock, for example, and someone shorts it to them, or, and then there's this whole thing about, oh, paying for order flow is bad. Well, that's the basis of the that's the business of the market. That's how it's been set up for such a long time. So a lot of these things people don't understand, and they don't understand. They've never heard of inventory, and when inventory gets too long, too short, and they don't understand the difference between wholesale and retail.
Okay.
Um,
So, a question I have for you is, you came up during the period when open outcry was still happening, especially up in Canada. What would you say is the major difference in the market now that we're basically no people and just machines? What
well,
have you noticed?
one thing I notice, I started just when the floor was closing in Vancouver. So most of the guys who trained me were floor traders. And what I notice in this market is the S&P, these E-minis will trade to the tick to reference points, which, human beings, there's going to be some slippage, back and forth. So I think that algorithmic execution is very exacting. A lot of people don't like that.
Interesting.
The other thing is, ever since they took away the specialists in the New York Stock Exchange, like for example, this last 8 weeks when the market fell apart because we didn't have any structure, um, the market makers weren't taking any risk and absorbing any inventory in the E-mini. So the prop traders stepped into that vacuum and took that place. Now, they don't have any obligation to us for fair pricing. So the price action was just out of control. And all they were doing was, putting together a position, running the stops, dumping the position, and doing it over and over again, like in Globex. So I noticed a lot of that. And then I also notice, I'll be looking for blocks. If there are a lot of blocks printing in the ES, that means for me that the market makers are absorbing inventory. And if they aren't, that means the prop traders are breaking up their orders and hitting different outlets, to mask size. So I notice a lot of that with the algos. I don't really mind the algos because I kind of know where they're going to, I can tell in a market like, just now when we went to that 2807, that was a very, very technical, it stopped to the tick, 13 contracts up there and right back down. So I don't mind algorithms at all. The one bad thing about it, I have a buddy of mine who was at Spear Leads and Kellogg's on the floor for 40 years. And he said, when there's a big seller, in the old days, you could call somebody and go, hey, this guy was interested in size 2 days ago. It's cheaper now. You want to take that 2 million shares into inventory. That doesn't happen anymore because everything's so fast. So that's why we have these massive vacuums. And you can see on this chart here, we really haven't established a trading range. And we, ever since the big money managers started locking up the big positions like Apple and Microsoft, and less than 1% of the float of those companies trade on a daily basis. So God forbid any of these firms come out of any of that paper because it'll be catastrophic.
What firms?
BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, yeah, I mean, they're 20, 30-year long players. But I mean, I don't consider this market very liquid, considering so much of the floats of these companies are locked up.
You know what that is? I think, and it's not just happening in there. It's interesting that you're bringing it up. Are you talking mainly micro? That's a new product, or are you talking both the minis too? Are not showing the same liquidity they were, say, before this recent sell-off?
Definitely.
Okay.
And
because I'm seeing it in gold. We know what happened with crude.
Yes.
I'm seeing some bigger spreads and everything. Things like TLT used to be very liquid. Now you need an appointment for a trade. They're definitely taking away. These markets are becoming less and less efficient during this crisis. Bothers me.
Very much so. And I mean, I'm a simple guy. I mean, when I started, there used to be something called the NASDAQ Red Book, and it was like a red book. It was the size of a Bible, and it contained all the market makers that made markets in U.S. equities. Right now, I bet you that book is probably the size of a pamphlet. Because there's Citadel and Virtue, and so they've monopolized pretty much all the liquidity, and they've monopolized all the cash with these big money managers. And you have things like BlackRock's Aladdin is got $18 trillion running through that algo for them and other clients. So you can definitely tell. It's funny, when BlackRock got the keys to the Fed, the price action all of a sudden calmed down instantaneously. In the ES.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. You're an interesting guy, JJ. And I'm certainly glad that you survived a health crisis and that you're out there teaching people. You want to show your website and tell everyone what your model is and how they could reach you.
Definitely. 1 second here. This is my website here.
Do you really have a room like that?
No. That's our marketing guy, and
I love that room. Put that back up there again.
Yeah, that's our marketing guy, and Steve is my marketing guy. He's from Long Island, Port Jeff, and he works. This guy works 24 hours a day. Like, he's tweeting at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
getting. I have a podcast, so he's getting guests for that. He's always changing the site. I mean, the guy is, it's amazing because he just it's nice to have someone on the team who.
The only thing that could top it would be instead of the wall have an ocean in the background there.
Oh, exactly.
All right. So anyway, and I mean, hey, how about this, JJ? And a picture of you getting out of your Ferrari.
Oh gosh.
After landing on your private jet, getting into your Ferrari and walking into that office and say, "Hey, you want to learn how to trade?"
Yeah, exactly.
You could be like me.
Oh, I know.
The
funny thing is, no, well, that'd be great, but I live in Saskatchewan. And a Ferrari would last maybe 5 minutes here.
Look, isn't that every trader's dream?
The Ferrari,
to live in
Saskatchewan. Definitely.
I know that was on my bucket list.
Hey, we get Amazon delivery by Moose up here.
It was great having fun with you, man, and good luck. And you could follow JJ on Twitter at VWAP Trader, VWAP Trader 1. And is that the name of your website too? No, it's
microfutures.com.
Okay, so we have it at microfutures.com.
Yep.
Really pleasure meeting you, man.
University
of Heart. I see your description. University of Heartbreak. What you should put up there is University of Heart Attacks.
Exactly.
And you're a survivor.
Definitely.
And you know what? You're also my trading warrior brother from here on out, buddy. So it was really a pleasure.
Thank you, Coach.
Meeting you, man.
It's been an honor, Coach. Thank you.
Okay, and let's see, 175.98. People are thanking you for coming in. Brock says awesome interview. So JJ, good hunting, and may you and your loved ones remain untouched by this virus. And that's a wrap, everyone. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And we'll wrap it up tomorrow on TGIF. Adios, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, JJ.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, see ya.